Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On this occasion, we will discuss an interesting story about an atheist figure who lost an argument with a small child. This story is taken from the book Fathul Majid by Shaykh Muhammad Nawawi bin Umar Al-Jawi As-Syafii about an atheist who always relies on logic and is defeated by argument, simple by a 7-year-old child. No need for holy books, just basic logic that shakes his views. The story of Imam Abu Hanifa. Who doesn't know his name? He was born in Kufa, Iraq in 699 AD. Luqman bin Abd, better known as Imam Abu Hanifa, was an intelligent scholar who founded the Hanafi school. His intelligence was already visible from a young age, even when he was only 7 years old. As Imam Muhammad Abu Hanifa once won a debate against Dahri, an atheist who rocked the Islamic world in Baghdad. This story tells the story of a young Imam Hanafi who faced a challenge to the thoughts of a Dariya, who at that time became a phenomenon. There is a version which states that Dariya was not an atheist but a Jewish priest, regardless of his identity. This story is still interesting for us. How your young Hanafi Imam defeated Dari's argument, which lost, became a hot topic. Dari, a man who came to Baghdad, shook the Muslim community with his logical arguments, which tried to undermining beliefs about God. The ulama tried to argue, but each of their arguments was easily defeated. Ikhwan asked his ministers to look for ulama in other areas who were able to match the Dahriya arguments of the caliph's messengers. Finally, he met Imam Hamad bin Sulaiman, a theologian and fiqh expert of the Islamic school of thought. Ari, who is also the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa, the messengers, conveyed the caliph's concerns about the influence of Dahriya, which had defeated the ulama in Baghdad and had the potential to disrupt the beliefs of the common people. As a solution to holding an open debate between Imam Hamad and Dariya, the caliph also requested that the debate be held at the Jamia Mosque so that local people could see the news about this debate, which was greeted enthusiastically by the people the day before the debate started. The people of Baghdad filled the Jami Mosque. They had high hopes for Imam Hamad, the only cleric who was expected to be able to defeat Dahriya at his house. Imam Hamad never stopped praying to recite dhikr and saying Tasbih Tahmid purifies the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Imam Hamad. Talking about God is not a trivial matter. He can't wait to silence the Dariya, which has caused unrest among the people. Friday morning, Imam Abu Hanifa, who at that time was still very young, came to face his teacher Imam Hamad. At that time, Imam Abu Hanifa found his teacher in an unusual situation, as if he was facing a critical situation. Imam Hamad also told him about his plans for the debate with Dari and the real situation. This cannot be allowed to be resolved immediately, Imam Ahmad said firmly. His face was calm. Like clear, flowing river water, it still shines even in a critical situation. Meanwhile, Abu Hanifa, apart from being intelligent, also has the ability to interpret dreams like the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam in his observations. This noodle indicates that Dahlia will experience misfortune after asking permission from her teacher. Abu Hanifa also tried to interpret Imam's dream. Hamad Abu Hanifa explained that the spacious and beautiful hamlet that Tuan Guru saw in his dream was a picture of our Islamic religion. The tree that bore abundant fruit was the picture of all the remaining wood scholars. It was Tuan Guru himself. The pig that damaged the tree was Dahriya, while the tiger that came out was My pig, God willing, Tuan Guru Jar Abu Hana, after explaining Surmi to his teacher Abu Hanahon Yuk, debated with Imam Ham. His views Ajam Nyahnyama. Finally Imam Hamdanu to Abu Hanamar, and ready to debate as usual. Before the debate started, Dahriya taunted the ulama with a voice loud and loud, but in the middle of the crowd of worshippers at the mosque, something surprising happened. A 7-year-old child raised his hand and accepted Dariya's challenge with a loud voice. You bear itawma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jadalha. Those who are brave, if they are, Mail Makanan, Danil Kamil, Allah edited those who are in and those who know. And you do the Quran Surah Al-Mujadi, verse 11. Dahriya was furious to hear the agility and eloquence of Abu Hana's tongue. The little ones debated it for tense moments, and there was a heated debate between Abu Hana, a small child, against Dahriya, an Atheist who is famous for his materialist and Atheist thoughts in the where Dahriya's reproaches, while throwing a sarcastic smile at the audience. Abu Hanifa casually, "You can answer that, Daria. Try to look at yourself. Isn't there a soul in you?" The audience began to pay attention to the style of this young scientist in making a speech full of talent. Daria answered that, "Indeed, I have a life, and indeed, every creature that breathes has a life," said Daria Imam. Abu Hanifa said, "But do you know where your own soul or spirit is located? In your head, in your stomach, or at the tips of your feet?" Suddenly, Daria was shocked to receive a backlash like that. Whispers began to be heard among the audience. They began to believe that Abu Hanifa was a child, was able to defeat Daria's argument. After that, Abu Hanifa took a glass of milk and then showed it to Daria. He said, "Is this milk in the water?" Daria quickly answered clearly. Imam Abu Hanifa then asked, "If so, where is the child in Upper Bagan or in Bagana?" I was stunned and unable to answer the Imam. Abu Hana Yangun is Imam Abu Hana Yangud, who continues the existence of music. We don't know how it is possible for us to reach the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created and regulates this entire universe, including our human mind as its husnya and obedient to fate and His mighty grace. Agi swas be silent to His chair. Kasayahnya ahisar ulela swas litalangdaki bert hai young men. What existed before Allah? And this emikan Abu Hanudu Abu Hana, Imam Hamad, Yang Abu Hana Ja'asibi, the emergence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the beginning, and He is the end. Abu Hanifa answered briefly, concisely, and firmly, but it was dismissed as very strange. It's possible that God exists without a beginning, and how could it be that He also ends without anyone after Him? I've tried to reason with logic and a thin smile. Abu Hanahel is there himself. Try to pay attention to your thumb. What finger do you see before this thumb? Abu Hanifa pointed his thumb at the sky, and some of the audience imitated him. Then look at your little finger. Are there any more fingers after that? Trivial things like that. So if we are unable to understand the existence of our tiny fingers, how can we possibly understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most glorious substance that is not preceded by anything and nothing? Then after that, Dahlia was amazed again, but she was not discouraged. She was still wanting to refute the young man's argument that had embarrassed him in public. Dahlia was silent, as if a new idea had slipped into her head. A cynical smile spread across her lips. Haya, like water, the debate between Abu Hanifa and the atheists continues. This is the last question for you, little child. Dahri deliberately raising his voice, trying to cover his embarrassment. You said Allah exists then. What is the work of your God? At this time, that question made Abu Hanifa smile. This is an interesting question, but you have been asking the question on the pulpit in a loud voice that everyone can hear. So now I should be the one on the pulpit so that my answer can be heard by everyone, said the young Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa motioned for Dahri to come down from the pulpit. Dahri walked down, left the pulpit of the Jami Mosque, and gave place to the young Abu Hanifa. After standing on the pulpit, Abu Hanifa said in a loud voice, "And be recognized, please know, O Dahri and ladies and gentlemen, that the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at this time is to abort the false like the Dahriya who was previously on the pulpit. Down there, he had been raised to the pulpit of the Jami Mosque. Like lightning striking, Abu Hanifa's argument hit Dahriya, making her face red. At the same time, the roar of takbir resounded from the crowd that filled the Jami Mosque. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They praised the authority of Abu Hanifa, who had succeeded in saving the dignity of Islam from Dahriya's tongue, is perverted and misleading. That's the story of the debate between Imam Abu Hanifa and an atheist. He, who is one of the founders of the EMP school of thought, is indeed known as an expert in mantiq and a balagha expert in logic who is as safe as he is. This is the end of our video. If you enjoy Islamic content like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.